So it's 28 days since I test planted some Dahlia tubers which had broken necks, a sort of experiment to see whether broken neck tubers have some viability. It's traditional to cut them away and assume that they've got no potential for growth. So I just thought I would test that theory and in real life, and here's the result 28 days later. So I planted this one is mixed peppermint, and there were 6 tubers with broken necks that went into that pot, and as you can see, not one of them has put a shoot out. But Nuit d'Et is a different matter. We've got 2 what look like fairly reasonable shoots, although they are thin and a bit scraggly, but they're certainly growing, and there's no question that those shoots are getting nutrition through the broken neck. Otherwise they would be nowhere near that big, because they must have roots, and we'll dig them out and have a close look and see what's actually going on in a moment. And then this one, which has put a shoot out okay, but is a month old now and is not continuing to grow, so I'm pretty sure that that is not getting a reasonable amount of nutrition through its broken neck. And then the last one is Carmen Naomi, which has got 1 reasonable shoot out of 6 tubers that were put in there. So we'll dig these out and have a look and see what's going on, and draw a conclusion about whether it is worth planting broken necks tubers or not. So first of all, we'll examine the fails. These are the tubers which have not put out a single shoot. So let's have a close look in there and see if we can reach any conclusions. I can tell straight away that this tuber here is soft and mushy and has rotted, and therefore we'll get that out. See whether it has in fact put any roots out before it succumbed to rot, and in fact there are some roots. I think in general with tubers, the first thing that happens is a small shoot will appear, a small eye will appear, usually often red or green in colour, and that means that things are often moving. But if you wait a week or so and then dig your tuber out, you'll find that the root system is often quite advanced, as it is in this case, even before the eye really gets going. So this conclusion here is that we've got a certainly rotten tuber. If you can see this, it's mushy, completely soft and mushy, and is just completely gone. But it's put out a reasonable root before it rotted. Now let's look at the others. Right, so this one has, which is a very scraggy neck, isn't it? And not much of an area, not much of a head here where shoots would appear. So it's a very small tuber anyway, but it has put a small root out there. You can see that. It has put a small root out. Let's look at this one. So we've got a root system again. I can feel it already. You just see it snap then. You can see the root system's going over there. In fact, it's quite extensive, isn't it? So there's the root. Another couple of roots trying to get going there. And in fact, it's lost its head altogether, so I've probably with me taking it out, it's lost it. The neck is broken. There it is. The neck is broken off completely. So there's some life in that. And this, I think, will be the same, a reasonable root system. but nothing at all, no signs of a shoot appearing there. Not all tubers do germinate, so to speak, so there's probably about an 80%, something like that, 80% success rate of planting single tubers, and the rest will just not take off no matter what. Absolutely no signs of... There's the broken neck. With a decent root system, broken neck, no shoot at all. And the last one here is the same story, reasonable root, no activity at all in the shoot department. So that was mixed peppermint. No shoots. Now let's look at the best of the series, which is Duidet. And first of all, we'll get this the most active shoot of all, which is this one, which is probably 4 inches or so tall. Not particularly thick, and it does vary by variety, but I would have expected this to be somewhat thicker if the tuber was absolutely perfectly viable. But this one had a broken neck. There's no question about it that there's nutrition getting to this shoot through the broken neck. So let's have a good look now and see what's actually going on. Carefully trying to maintain as much of any root system that's there. And then we'll have a good look at it on the table and see if we can reach any conclusions. That just broke away there. So here is our plant. And if we just do a bit of dissection. In fact, we can see here that we've got a decent shoot. We've got a small tuber here which has a very thin neck but is not completely broken through. And we've got this larger tuber. Both of these have put roots out, and in fact there's roots coming from the base of the stem here. Yeah. This one's got a completely broken neck. Not completely, but I mean it's very badly broken. So possibly the conclusion here is that this very small tuber, which has not got a broken neck, is the one which is supporting the shoot. So that's the way it is. That being the case, I may not plant this now. I was going to plant them up, the ones with the broken necks and shoots, to see how well they do going towards adulthood. But because this case here has got the intact tuber attached to the broken one, I don't think it's going to serve any purpose to plant that up, because we're simply planting up a very small tuber with a shoot. So anyway, let's have a look at the last one here. Sorry, not the last one, but the next best one. I try to tease the roots out as best we can. You can see where they go. They often break at this stage, but you just conserve as much as possible of the roots that's there. They do very well, normally do very well, single tubers that have been pre-sprouted like this, and you break the roots up a bit when you transplant them, but they still do okay, they still come through okay. That's an example of some dahlias which are doing just that in the tray there, and I'll do a video of that, how I think the cafe au lait dahlias which we pre-sprouted a month ago, they're doing okay. So let's see what we've got in this guy. Just clear the necks of it. So that we can see what's going on. Well, this is probably the best example, because here we have a reasonable shoot, and if I plant this up, and I will, then we will, I'm sure, get a plant from this. We've got roots coming again from the insertion of the stem, from the neck part, the collar part. We've got some roots coming from the base of the tuber, which is the most common place where roots will develop, is right at the end there. And we've got, into close up now so that you can see. So here is our shoot. Again, it's a bit thin, but certainly viable, and we've got good leaves coming here, and it's growing really well, so it's getting nutrition through from these roots through this broken neck. There's no question about that. So let's just have a look at the broken neck itself. There we have it. So that neck would usually, this tuber would usually have been discarded because of the broken neck. But as we can see, it's viable, and it's doing not particularly badly, so I'm going to plant that up rather carefully. And there we are, our nuit-dette with a broken neck, nicely on its way, I hope. It'll be a little bit delicate, so I'll keep it in a humid atmosphere with some warmth to maintain the growth of those roots, but I think that's a nice viable plant we've got there. And then while we're at it, we'll just look at the rest of these tubers which we planted. Let's have a look at this one which put out a small shoot and not much else. So this is put a shoot out okay, it had a viable eye, but it's not getting nutrition, it's simply not growing, so it's not getting nutrition through its from its tuber. In fact, there's not much of anything here. Ah, okay, I can see what we've got. fact on this one we've got just the last bit of the neck and the collar and head part with a shoot coming from it, some roots starting there, so the nutrition that this shoot is getting is via the root system that it's put out, but it's very little of it, and there's no tuber to feed the shoot, which is why it's not developed well at all. I mean, that amounts now, I suppose, to a cutting which is already rooted, so that we could put that in a pot, and it would would take off just like any other cutting would. But it's already thin, and there's no real purpose in conserving that, in trying to conserve that, unless it was a really precious plant. There's just one more to do. Which is this lot. Carmen Naomi. First of all, we'll have a look at the rest of them before we get out the one that's actually put a decent shoot out. So there we are. Nice long root coming from the bottom of the tuber. Just a point here, people sometimes say you can cut off the tuber, the bottom of the tuber, and it won't do any harm if, for instance, you want to get a very large tuber into a pot that's a bit smaller than the tuber. And it's, as far as I can see, it's fairly common practice to do that, but I've found that they do very poorly. Because, as you can see here, the roots are actually coming from the base of the tuber. There are no roots from anywhere else. If you do cut it across and plant it, and they do put shoots out, then the roots tend to come from halfway down the tuber somewhere, but they simply don't do as well, not in my experience anyway. So I really would recommend not doing that. So, decent root system, a good shoot coming, and although the neck is certainly damaged, it's not actually loose. So that's plants obviously getting nutrition via the roots through the tuber, and from the tuber itself, which is mobilizing its sugars now and sending nutrition up into the shoot. Again, I'm not going to plant that because I don't think I can justify it. So in the conclusion to our broken neck tuber test, is that we have some degree of viability, but the majority of these tubers fail to put shoots out, you can say that. So I think the standard advice, which is to trim away any broken necks, is probably good. But if you do have plants which are very precious and you're going to do your best to conserve any possible viability, then it's, for my money, it is worth planting out a small tray with these tubers in and see which ones, or see if any of them put shoots out. Sometimes you get a tuber which you've paid good money for, and when you look at it, almost or sometimes all of the necks are broken, and you think, oh gosh, you know, this is a complete waste. Well, what I'm saying is, if it's worthwhile, plant them up, because there's nothing lost, is there? Okay, so thanks very much indeed for listening to this video, and I hope to see you for the next one. Okay, thanks very much. Bye bye for now.